Hey guys, what's going on? It is it's Tutorial Tuesday. That's the whole idea. It's Tuesday, there's tutorials, pretty standard stuff. So, what I have for you guys tonight, um, may not be my longest tutorial, may not be my most thorough, but I tried to put something together to help you guys along because, well, this is gonna be my last one for a while. School's coming up, and I wanna not have to focus entirely on Spy Party. I'll still stream, but I don't want to make it, I don't want to have to feel like I'm forced to do this if I think I might not do my best. And tonight's topic is on metagames and extended learning. Um, Now, those I feel like those sound like really complex topics. And they kind of are. I mean, they're not like basic stuff. They're not stuff you should just know. Um, but I feel like they're important to go over. More so the second one. The second one's something I feel like a lot of everybody needs to learn. Everybody needs to understand where they can go and general ideas on where they should go. But there's a lot of nuances, and I don't want to go into it now. Right now, I want to go into metagames. Now, because of this, I decided to look up, the definition of metagame because I feel like it would help. It would help you guys understand where I'm coming from, and I'm going to show it to you right now. Let's go right. Boom. Alright, so this is Wikipedia, nothing crazy. And it says metagaming is a broad term usually used to define any strategy, action, or method used in a game which transcends a prescribed rule set, uses external factors to affect the game. You guys yelling. Or goes beyond the supposed limits or environment set by the game. Another definition. I'm just going over the definition, jeez. Another definition refers to the game universe outside the game itself. That's a textbook kind of thing about it. But what it really means is kind of using your opponent against themselves in a lot of ways. Basically, it's using the outside knowledge to mess with your opponent. And I want to talk about metagaming. Now, a lot of players use a form of metagaming, and a metagame is in itself kind of special and precious in my eyes. I love metagames. Now, that might not make sense, but I'll go into it in a bit. When you and another player play a game, basically any game, but I'm gonna stick to Spy Party because that's what we know. Although I guess I could jump around, but I wanna stay on course. I don't wanna confuse anybody. You form a metagame. You and that player, you do stuff, things become commonplace, all that jazz, and that forms a metagame. And it's really cool. Everything that you do within there changes it and flows it. You trying to break it changes it. It's really neat. And I know that, it happens with everybody. You might ignore it, that's fine. You can totally ignore it with a lot of players. The way I kind of see it, and I think this might just be me, I don't think many players might have this view, at least yet. Maybe if I mention it, it'll somehow become some big thing. I doubt it, though. Is that a metagame is a special bond between two players. So, let's say me and another player, just any other player, we share a bond through the games we've played. We do, we all do. But even it extends out of that into a metagame where we have these idea and insights that will not apply to other players. I like to think of it like an in-joke. Stuff like that. Where only me and the other player will get it. Other people might see it, like, I might stream it, for example. Or you might talk about it. But it'll never be the same as actually experiencing it. And that's one of the best things about metagames. Is they are not... they're not one person's experience, they're a shared bond. And they bond you to your opponent in some ways. It's really weird, especially if it's a particularly brutal metagame. Which it can be, you could be a cutthroat metagame. It could be a really nice and relaxed one. You can do a lot of stuff with metagames. It's really neat. But I'd say those are the basics about how metagames work. One example of a metagame that I was involved in, just on a personal note, is for a long time I wouldn't briefcase very often. And if you've played Spy Party with me, especially a few months back, you probably knew this or know this. But not everybody fully knows. So I'm gonna explain it. And my issue is that I just would not briefcase, and one player picked up on it, and that was a big part of our metagame. He was able to low light always for briefcasing. It just I would not briefcase, and that was a huge part of our metagame. I mean, it was like, yeah, I could always do it, but I didn't. And he used that against me. Many players did, to be quite honest. But it's really cool because I mean it was a little bit more than just a two-person metagame. It was shared by a lot of people, but it's a great example about how metagames can affect the actual game. I mean, I could have briefcased at any time, I just didn't. So I would say that's a good example about how that can really apply to gameplay. Because a lot of players probably don't fully think that metagames can really have that big an effect when they can. If you've never experienced it, it's probably not a big deal. You're like, okay, yeah, whatever. But if you have, you probably understand how metagames can actually really do a lot. And what's neat is that once it starts going, once you get the avalanche rolling, or so to speak, things get really fun because you get a metagame, and let's say that your opponent goes, okay, I knew you were the spy. Say you're the spy, they're the sniper, and they say to you, okay, player, I knew you were the spy because you were following your seduction target. And you go, okay, sure. And let's see. Oh, I don't know. Next game is spy. You go and say, I'm not going to follow my seduction target. I want to go in 2 or 3 bursts, literally like every minute. So it doesn't seem that obvious, or I want to like twitch flirt, get all the way. Now that's kind of the obvious direction you want to go as a spy. The obvious compelling force where you go, he said I'm doing this, I should stop doing that. And the sniper, conversely, says, alright, I told him this, I'm not stupid. So he's probably not going to do that anymore. So, instead of watching for that, oh, I don't know, I'm going to watch for people who, I'm going to low light people who do that. Sneaky, right? I mean, I know I've done this. But it's really cool. Because it, again, this goes on for games. This goes on for sets. This goes on with your opponent. Basically, for as long as you're playing the opponent and you still remember the metagame, as long as you can remind yourself of it, that's what's cool about it. So I'm going to show you a little something I made. Excuse me. Alright. So, whoa. Okay, and we go. Alright, so here we go. Alright, look what I made. So, this is a little chart I made. It's silly, it's MS Paint. Don't fault me. But this is the spy side, and this is all after game 1, because a metagame cannot be introduced before that. It just can't. It just cannot happen. It's just not how metagames work. So, this is the spy side, this is the sniper side. It's just how it works. So, after game 1, the spy has 2 options. He can either A, he can go the obvious direction and not follow his seduction target in this example. Or he can B, continue to follow his seduction target because he doesn't think the sniper will predict that he'll do that. And conversely, the sniper can go the obvious direction and be less suspicious of those who follow seduction targets. Or B, continue to do that, being more subtle, the subtle direction, of course, and continue to play the way he always has. So, let's say they both take the obvious direction. And of course, these are generalized. This is kind of assuming that both players are of equal skill, nothing crazy happens. I mean, these are more like theory games of Spy Party. But I want to discuss it. I feel like it's important. So, the spy says, alright, I am not going to follow my seduction target for this game. And the sniper conversely says, yeah, I'm going to lowlight everybody who follows people. I just don't think it's going to happen. Odds are in the sniper's favor because he's using his information as wisely as possible. Now, granted, the spy can still win. I mean, anybody can still win at the spy party. But for this game, I mean, the sniper totally wins, right? And so we continue down this path, right? So this player goes, ah, crap, because I like to assume, and this isn't always true, but here's what I'm going to assume: the sniper goes, because this is what really drives metagames, is you go, all right, I caught you because of what I just told you. I told you you were following your seduction target, so I'm not having it. So I mean, I decided to low light for it because I knew you wouldn't do it. Why would you do it when I told you? And the spy goes, all right, you got me. So they play another game, they switch sides, and they go back to spy. The spy goes back to spy for their next game, and he has to make a choice. He says, all right, do I want to follow my seduction target, or do I want to do I want to be subtle and not follow my seduction target? And he says, all right, I'm going to try and be subtle. That's the plan. Because he beat me last game. I'm just not even going to bother. I'm just going to just play normal but ignore my seduction target, maybe try a different mission. Sure, that's fine. Yeah, why not? And then the sniper says, okay, I said that, but I think that's going to make him want to go back to his initial direction. I don't think he's going to switch. So I'm going to lowlight those people who follow the seduction target. And so he goes the obvious direction, right? Which is to continue doing what he's doing. He, on the other hand, is going to follow the seduction target because that's the subtle direction. That's the one his opponent would not generally suspect. So he does this. And generally speaking, once again, there's no absolutes. Anybody could win this game. But, assuming that they're focusing on these things with equal amounts and playing equally well, the spy would probably win this game because he'd probably get low lit. So he'd go, boom, yeah, I won that game. Look at me. I'm awesome. And the sniper is just not happy. He's like, oh, geez, he's getting me. I mentioned that. And so the spy explains, oh, well, I decided to follow him because I thought you were low-letting for that last game, or maybe because you mentioned it. And so the sniper goes, all right, I'm gonna play normal. I'm gonna highlight those people following the ST because this is taking me off. I'm just not having it. And the spy conversely says, all right, well, so I lost the first one and I won the second one. So he gets to his next spy game and he goes, well, I suppose the best direction would be to and he thinks and you think and you think. I mean, there's a lot to this. Trust me, I've spent at least a few minutes on this graph already, and not a graph, but there's a lot to this. And so he decides to go back to the obvious route. So he is going to follow his seduction. Oh, he's going to not follow his seduction target. Wrong one. He's going to not follow, and his opponent, on the other hand, is going to play normally and not focus terribly. He's going to play normal. He's not going to lowlight those people who are around there. And at this point, it's kind of a toss-up. I would say, because the sniper, he goes, okay, well, I'm just going to play normal. I'm not going to put too much. I'm not going to lowlight for those people who are going near the seduction target, and he goes, all right, well, I'm not going to do that. So, I mean, they're pretty equal, I would say. There's no obvious clear-cut winner, and I mean, I think it's pretty cool because this is like simplified. There are so many more parts to a general metagame deal that this is like the tip of the iceberg. I mean, let's be fair here. So, I mean, this might be a little complex. I hope it's not too complex. I hope you guys understood. But, let's jump over here. Hopefully it made sense. That's the plan. Is that, I want that kind of thing to make sense because that's how it works. And sometimes you go over and above. You go, okay, well, he thinks I'm going to focus on seduce, and I'm just not even going to do seduce. And you just literally take a U-turn and just say, I'm not going to play your stupid metagame. And you can just keep doing that. That's the cool thing. Is when you start focusing on that, and you say, hey man, are you are you gonna watch Blue Danger this game? And the guy's like, no, why would I watch Blue Danger? And you go, oh, no reason. And then you giggle, and they're like, crap. Why'd he say that? What was that about? And you can mess with your opponent. I mean, I think we've all had stories where we've totally messed with the sniper, and you just go, well, I'm just gonna mess with your head. I was not Blue Danger, but you thought I couldn't be realistically Blue Danger because I had to be lying about that, and you were actually telling the truth. It gets deep, it gets stupid, and it gets funny. That's part of the fun of Spy Party. You have to remember it's a game. Sure, I'm doing like tutorials on it so people can get better, but it's fun. That's the reason why I hope we all play it. So there's a lot of mind games you can play, and that's a lot of what metagaming is. But it's not all of it by any means. It's it's trying to figure out what your opponent's going to do before they do it in a lot of ways, and trying to counter that. That is that's a lot of it, and that's super fun, especially when you get it right. And partaking in an evolving metagame is super exciting because you get to watch as everything evolves. And in game one, you could have done this, and well, not game one because that's when it starts, but in game two, maybe you should have done this because the sniper saw what you were gonna do. And there's just a lot of stuff. I feel like it all starts with talking with your opponent, and I heavily encourage that. Evolving metagames is fun, it's exciting, and it's really cool. And things do get, like, meta. You can get meta, like meta, because you're analyzing things from so far back. It's just awesome. So, that's a lot of what I want to talk about metagames, and how we create them, and how we can influence them. They're really for two people, but it's very, very exciting. At least I think it is, and I hope that you guys can use some of this information to help you in your games, because they apply to both sides. Like, oh, I didn't think that you were looking at that as sniper. You don't often look at that, and then the sniper's looking for things on his side. So it's not just spy stuff. Let me just note, it's not just one-sided. Anyway. So, I apologize for that noise. So I want to go on here to extended learning, as I'm calling it. Now, extended learning, as this is how I'm gonna kind of define it ish, is learning that you do on your own in Spy Party. Extended learning is going into like practice mode to test one theory over and over and over that only you're looking at. It's not talking about on the forums. No high level player told you it. You are doing it all on your own. And the reason I define it like that is because that's important. Sure, I can tell you right here, how to banana split or how to do a great bug or stuff like that. But once you get out into the world and really start learning these secrets hidden and embedded in the game, that's when you can really, really get to some of the meat of it and become a great player. Now, there are good players, there are okay players, there are bad players, but then there are great players. And great players are people who I feel they go out and they discover things. They take the wilds of Spy Party by the horns, and they figure out everything they can. And that's what makes players great at the game. So I'm mentioning this partially because well, I'm gonna have to stop after this Tuesday. I'm not doing any more for a while, and I'm mentioning this partially so you guys can go on your own and figure out your own things. I want you to, and I suggest that you share them when you find them after you know that they're real. You want to help with the community, or at least let Checker know. I mean, he does need to know a lot of this stuff to make his game better. But there is a lot of things that have not been discovered that people think just kind of have. Like, we know a lot, but we haven't discovered everything. There's still so much that I see that's being discovered just kind of casually here and there, and it's ridiculous. And I have a hard time, like, just absorbing all this new information that I thought was already just, known. and it's not because all this new information that just happens. Now I've gotten some people me drawn. How do you get to that level? Like how do you realistically, you know, how do you get around there? Because it seems ridiculous. I mean, sure you can talk about going into practice mode and staring at it for hours, but one, that takes forever, and two, what am I actually looking at? And I want to give you a few ideas, a few examples of things that you can be doing to get better, to how do you put it? To extend your learning past what I can just teach you, because you learn things so much more. So you will never forget the time you learned about that bug on like veranda, and that bug is just how you snipe, and it's what makes you snipe, and it changes and influences your gameplay in such a degree that nothing else could have done it, and you learned it. It's yours, and that's the beauty of it. So I want to show you one of the ways right here. Boom. All right. So you go to the Spy Party forums. You will probably not be drawn onward, but you might be. And there's announcements, discussion, and bugs. Now announcements, yeah, sure. I mean, there's changes, but you should know those. Discussion, yeah, it's cool. We're talking about stupid shit. But bugs is actually the most important one for for this kind of extended learning I'm talking about. And there's two threads in here. There's two threads that I like to look at if I'm trying to figure out something. Which I'm going to go into a bit again. But, I mean, there's all these new bug threads, which are great to read. There's nothing bad. But it's these two mega threads, actually. I would say, especially when they're updated, are great reads if you want to try figuring out something about the game. If you want to figure out exactly how AI briefcase, which isn't exactly unexplored territory, but it's something not everybody knows. And then you can look at these for ideas on things you might want to be looking for that other players aren't. So there's the game/balance breaking bugs mega thread, or you can go to the pathing mega thread, blah, 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 because they have so much information. I mean, R7 and Iceman have put these together, and I believe they're still updating them. I'm not 100% sure, but there's still a lot of good information. Not to mention just the bugs in general. Seeing what's there, what's been fixed. All those things can help you to becoming a really good player, to put it lightly. I would say that those are the two that I really like to look at, but they aren't, it's not game breaking if you don't. Let's head over back to here. Another cool way to get better, to learn a lot about yourself as a player and other people that can really change, give you a few more ideas and outlooks on things, is you go to a player, probably one who's better than you, but doesn't have to be. Ideally, at least your skill level, and you say, "Hey, give me the basic merits on which you play. Like ideally sniping. I mean, spy has styles too, but I would say sniping fits a little more into this." And you say, like, what do you look for? Or a spy, what do you like to do? And what you can do is you try to put yourself in their shoes for a few games. You say, I'm going to be uncomfortable, but I want to try this out. And the reason I want to try this out is to expand my horizons. I want to try playing like KCM. I want to try playing like R7. Or as, my friend who has the same number of games as I do, because we have the same amount of experience. I want to see how he sees things. And when you can understand how other people look at the game, you can learn a lot about yourself via that, and that's what's super neat about it. It doesn't seem obvious, but when you understand the differences, you see how other players might see things. You see how I or anyone else might play sniper or spy, why and how we do, and you can become a very good player off just those insights. Let me know. That's funny. So another thing you can be doing is you can go into practice mode or normal mode, whatever, actually playing. And you say you watch some AIs, maybe you go to bookshelves and you go, why do they path that way to bookshelves? Do they always path that way to bookshelves? For example. Or, you might go, well, why are they going to Windows? Is that an AI thing or is that a non-AI thing? Why would a normal person go to Windows? And there's all these questions that you can answer. They sound super simple, but you can ask, why would a player do this and why would an AI do this? And if you can learn the answers to those questions, let me just tell you right now, if you can learn the actual answers, not vague like, oh, well, they want a time ad. No, they do it for this. If you can figure out something along those lines, you can really up your game. I know AIs go to bookshelves. I know exactly the way they walk, and I know about the times that they put away and take away and walk away with books. That's insane. And if you can understand that, you can get very good very fast. I mean, to my understanding, that's a lot of how, say, some players got good at briefcase. There was no tutorial on briefcasing. I've never done one. Man, that'd be funny. Just some players went to practice mode, or and they learned on their own. They did not say, "Oh, well, Checker, how is this done?" And Checker said, "This is how it's done." No, that's not how it works at that level. They figured it out all on their own. They had no help. I was not there. There was no YouTube video explaining it. None of that. And if you want to be a great player, if you want to really stand out and be among the best players in the game, that's what you're gonna have to do. And you're gonna have to be on top of it. New art comes out, you got to be on top of it. New pathing comes out, on top of it. New, I don't know, the game gets released, you have to be ready. There's all these ideas and people that want to go somewhere, and the only way to go anywhere with it is to use it and practice it and learn it as best you can. And that is what I want you guys to do. I don't think realistically that what I'm teaching you can cover everything. I don't think realistically that anything anyone can say will cover everything about this game. But hopefully I can help you guys along the way and help other people. That's really my goal. What you guys need to do once you feel like maybe I'm not helping, or maybe that not all my tutorials are really worth it, what you need to be doing is doing extended learning, figuring out things all on your own and using those things, seeing if they're real. And that's when you become a great player, at least in that aspect. There's so many aspects that it's rough. It's not just you become a great player and that's it. It's you become a great player there. And then you need to become a great player here and there and here and here and here and over there and all those places. You can't even see some of those places. Whether or not it's because you're too high skill or too low skill. And that's kind of it's kind of the interesting thing. Let's see. Is there anything else I need to mention? Man. So, extended learning is something I wanna let you guys know and understand, learn about, and give you ideas on. It doesn't mean I don't want you to watch my stream. That'd be silly. But it means I want you to go beyond my stream. It's not the end of the world. I mean, yeah, I can promote myself and all that jazz, but that's stupid. Like, you need to be focusing on yourself. I'm not the end all be all. I never will be. I'm never claiming that. One thing I feel like some players forget when they're trying to look for this stuff, especially newish players, is that you still need to be playing. Yes, I would say there's a point where playing a lot does not just suddenly give you insights into the game. I would know. I play the game virtually every night. It just does not always give you virtual, like instant insights in the game because you've been playing so often, and you just learn this or that or here. Instead, you need to make a concentrated effort at a certain point in your career as a player to get better, to focus on these things and learn how the game works on a deeper level. And there's a long time where you don't need to do that, to be honest. I would say that most players, haven't gotten there, or, they just need to focus on that. They need to focus on playing and learning and figuring out the ins and outs, the basic ins and outs, but still the ins and outs of the games. But some players are at that point where they need to physically focus on getting better. And that is what is going to get them better. Not playing a billion games of Panop or playing a billion games of Balcony or Courtyard 1 or something wacky. That'll give you insights onto those maps, I suppose, which is fine. And if that's what you're going to focus on, sure. But if you want to really get good at something and feel like you've mastered most of the basics and you know what everything is after a few thousand games, I suggest sitting down, trying to figure something out and doing it, figuring that out as best you can. That is my advice on the matter. Um, I wow, man. I think that those are at least the base tips I can give to the base. It's advanced. I can give you guys to developing your own play, your own style, and the best ways you guys can edit yourselves to make yourselves the best player you can, because that's what you want to do, right? You want to get better. I mean, having fun, I think, is generally the ideal goal, but winning's not bad either. You know, it's all good. Um, and that's the best advice I can give. Doing extended learning on your own, and it generally is on your own, even if you want to show a player or try to figure something out, it's not something that you can always share, even if you want to. Because it's part of who you are. They won't get the same angle because they didn't learn it. I mean, you're the person who, it's in your heart. You're the person who goes, that's how it works. Imagine the ramifications. And that's when you know you've really stumbled upon something. So, with that, I'm gonna head off. This is my last Tutorial Tuesday for a bit. Sorry, things happen. I'm gonna be streaming normally on Tuesdays from now on, and tomorrow I'm playing Spy Party. Day after I'm playing Dive Kick. I think that's all for Tutorial Tuesday. Find me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all that jazz. You're probably watching me on one of those. Thank you for watching, and good night.